What is going on, YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today we have episode 65. We are 65 episodes in, my friend. That's kind of crazy. We've been going since beginning of the football season last year, and now we are here, and now we are not in the greatest of moods. You know, it's not the greatest mood. So, obviously a little bit to discuss and rant more about the Browns, but we're going to end on a more positive note. So we will keep that on the back burner. But Andrew, obviously another predictable week for the Brownies. We are now at 3-11, 3-12, whatever the fuck we are.
3-11.
I'm not even keeping track, to be honest, guys. I think I watched the game and I got so annoyed with football that I didn't watch any more games. I just watched Dragon Ball Z or Transformers or whatever the fuck I was watching for the rest of the day. I wanted nothing to do with football. That's how over it I was. So, Andrew, how are we feeling, big dog?
Not good. Yeah. I mean, not good because the Browns are fucking 3-11, and at the beginning of the season, we didn't think this was going to be the case. We thought, hey, we fucking finished 11-6 last year. Yeah. Should be kind of the same this year, right? Should be at least, like, if anything, maybe like 9-8 or 10-7, or
Why would we even be a mediocre team?
Yeah,
it's either we're fucking awesome or we suck dick.
Yeah. And the funny thing is like, we did this to ourselves when, after the first few games of the season when Deshaun Watson threw for 150 yards and sacked 13 times a game, and, they're saying, well, he still gives us the best chance to win. You lost to the Giants, my guy. You lost to the Raiders. The hell do you mean he gives you the best chance to fucking win a game? You can't even beat the two worst teams in football. What do you mean? You want to bring him back for competition next year, E2? Are you dumb? And furthermore, he's probably not even going to be ready until midway through the season regardless. So what's even the point of bringing him back?
I mean, the only reason to bring him back is to just stay with the cap,
stay with the cap. That's it.
Because truly, what my prediction is for that is he's obviously going to start the year on the PUP list. So he has that first 4 weeks, and then he has a 5-week window to start practicing. If he cannot practice within that 5-week window, he is shut down for the year. Pretty much like what happened to Hines this year.
Yeah,
same concept. And to be honest, you could probably force him to do that because they'll be like, listen, we got to pay you anyway. Just fucking stay home. Don't set foot in the in the locker room, in the facility. You're going to be locked out anyway. Yeah. We'll pay you your money, and then you will be a June 6th cut in 2026. That's what I ultimately think will happen because there's just no way we're going to drop him and have all of this dead cap space. And if you guys want a better explanation, just go on Twitter. Jack Duffin. I've said his name many times before. He put out a great article, I believe it was last night, just about various things that we can do at the quarterback position. And sort of what you're going to might see when it comes to Watson and even Winston and a bunch of other guys. So shout out to him. Go look at his stuff, dude. The dude does an unbelievable job at piecing it all together and making it make sense because it is very complicated. But ultimately that's probably what's going to happen. Like he's going to kind of be held for ransom. And they, especially if they are struggling, they may give him a chance and say, you know what, let's see if you can, let's see if you can play. But the fans are not going to react well. They already haven't. I mean, we've seen all of the tweets. Season ticket holders are getting rid of their tickets right now because they want nothing to do with anything Watson related. And I don't blame them. I don't either. None of us do. I haven't been to a game in 2 years, and I'm probably going to be a third game. I would rather go to a Detroit Lions game or something else fun that is within driving range
Mhm.
than going to a Browns game, because it's just, what's going to happen. It's a factory of sadness. This stadium is cursed. This team is cursed. And we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot, especially on game days, which is going to roll right into what happened on Sunday. The Chiefs did not play well at all that
No,
game.
they were horrible.
They played like shit. Pat Mahomes had a couple of good plays, but for the most part, I think Miles had like 12 or 13 pass rushes against him.
Yeah.
He was all over Mahomes. He couldn't get a sack, but he was everywhere. And it's only because Mahomes was getting the ball just, quickly enough to get it out of his hands before he would get sacked. And they really, stopped the run besides a few plays. That sort of, it was not really a screen pass, but that pass to Worthy in like the third quarter that really just kind of like, okay, this game's like GG for good. I mean, nobody was even near him, and nobody even tried to, tackle him. Guys seemed to sort of give up. This was, we all expected to lose against the Chiefs, and we always seem to lose to the Chiefs in a pretty bad way, over the years. But that game was laughable. It was so pitiful. I mean, 6 turnovers. We have 4 interceptions and 2 fumbles, including a muffed punt after you go, or the Chiefs went like 3 and out or something. I forget because I was driving, but muffed punt, and then the Chiefs get a goal line stand, and then they convert. Like, you're not gonna win football games when you can't win the turnover margin. It's just a reality, and this is why people probably want Stefanski gone. Obviously, we don't, but stuff like this doesn't help his case at all when his guys do not look prepared or do not look like they even give a fuck. And it's just sad, man. It really is. This whole season has been sad.
It's really frustrating. And like you said, the only positive was Myles Garrett getting 3 QB hits, a tackle for loss, and 15 rushes on the quarterback. He was the only bright spot. And 14, so 2 touchdowns of the 3 that Kansas City had, 2 of the 3 came on those turnovers.
Yeah.
If you didn't turn the ball over so much, it's a 7-7 ball game.
Yeah.
It's a 7-7 ball game because both teams play like ass. Pat Mahomes only finished with 150 yards passing. He had a Deshaun Watson game. He had 150 yards passing. He just had 2 easy touchdown passes because he was on the goal line and he just found an open guy. So it's not like Pat Mahomes played an amazing game.
No,
it's not like the Chiefs played an amazing game. Like, it was not pretty at all from either team. These are one of the games where the weather sucks, it's cold, and the only way to win is to not lose a turnover battle, and you lost a turnover battle. And that was the biggest difference. Otherwise, it's a tied ball game.
Yeah.
So it was just a poor performance all around. Like you said, the penalties, just the instrumental amount of penalties that we got is too bizarre to even think about, because it shows how undisciplined we are. And I think this is just us waving the white flag, saying like, we're done. Like, we just don't care anymore. Like, I don't think they care anymore, which, I mean, I guess, but at least show something. Like, don't show like you, like, at least lose with dignity. Don't give up. And yeah, I think we just saw Jameis play his last game in a Browns uniform. Like you said earlier, I think what's going to happen, what you said is going to happen, because we mentioned that a couple of times and over the last couple of episodes, that we think what they're going to do is keep Deshaun at home. They're going to keep him on the roster, but have him stay home for the season, just collect his money. Then he'll be DFA'd at the start of June in 2026.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, and the quarterback situation is done. And, this is the time where you get another quarterback, you get yourself a Kirk Cousins, a Sam Darnold or someone, and Justin Fields, and just say, hey, we're going to ride with you for a season. We're going to draft a QB, and we're just going to do this again.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. That's all we can hope for. We just hope that it all pans out. If not, then we're going to be screwed for the next 5 to 7 years.
I mean, we already are. I mean, I would say we're at least going to be sort of screwed until we get the new stadium, to be perfectly honest with you, which isn't going to happen until that 2029, 2030 sort of, timeline. So it's at least 5 years that we are probably going to be in the shitter, and we may get out of it in 3, but at least the next 2, we're married to Watson, and it fucking blows, man. It blows that we have to deal with this. That fans have to deal with this, especially after all of this time where we didn't want to. And I forget who said it on the fan. I believe it was yesterday or this morning. I forget, but somebody called in it was one of the reporters called in and said, sometimes when somebody says no, listen to them. Watson originally said no to this, and then we came back and offered him the moon, sun, and stars, and now we're fucked.
We should have let Carolina or someone else have them.
You should have let Atlanta get him.
Yeah, that's what it was, Atlanta.
Yeah. You should have let one of those teams get him, because they would have been the one in this sort of.
And we could have gone and got Kirk Cousins.
We could have gotten a Kirk Cousins. You could have reunited him with Stefanski. You could have drafted anybody. There were so many possibilities.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to get into the Bay Acre thing, because people were doing that today, on the fan. And look, I get it. And I do think we gave up on him a little too soon. I think Andrew Berry really pushed to get rid of him. And I think they forced him to play through the injuries in order to really sort of seal the deal. But it's not like Baker played terrific. Every single time we needed him in the clutch, he threw a pick. That was Baker's MO. And obviously he's improved from that. But as we've said time and time again on this podcast, you don't know if he would have changed that had he still been here.
And there's a reason
Baker needed the ego check. And he grew from that, and he has matured. I don't know. I don't know for a fact if he would have matured like he did had he been able to stay in Cleveland or not.
Well, and that's my thing. There's a reason why Carolina didn't keep him. There's a reason why the Rams didn't keep him, because there was something that they didn't like about him, and they said, we can't trust this guy to be our starting quarterback. Yeah. And you saw the Rams got Matt Stafford right after. Well, I think that's when they did just get Matt Stafford.
Hurt that year.
He was hurt that year. Yeah, I forgot. I think he was hurt because that was the first year of Messi.
They already had Stafford, so they were like, we're obviously not going to keep Baker because he deserves to go start somewhere.
Well, yeah, he deserves to start. And Carolina didn't keep him.
Carolina is also where quarterbacks go to die anyway. Besides the fact that Bryce has been playing well now. But
but Baker didn't do himself any favors either, because again, like you said, when the Panthers needed him, because they lost a lot of close games that year. Yeah. He won 3 games that season, and he went 3 and I think 3 and 7. Then they stopped starting him at quarterback.
I mean, he almost beat us in week 1.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Cade York, lost the game.
But what's funny too is again, just like you said, in Carolina, his MO was when the team needed him most, he threw a pick, or he got sacked or fumbled the football or whatever. Yeah. He made a mistake, and that was his MO. That's what got him to LA. Played solid in LA while the Andrew Stafford was gone, and then went to Tampa Bay, and now he's performing well, and he deserves it. Don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for him, and he deserves it. Oh, yeah. But you can't sit there and act like he was going to do the same in Cleveland. No. You can't act like it, because you never know if he would got his ego check. You would never know if before the Green Bay Christmas game, he was playing fucking, what was it, the new Halo game that came out that year? Mm-hmm. It was the new Halo game that came out, and he played hours of Halo instead of looking at the playbook. He didn't know half the plays that were going to run. So what does that tell you? That he cared more about Halo than he cared about playing football that year. So you can't tell me that he would have been the same in Tampa as he would be here. Okay. He would not have been the same. He had to go, and the timing was right. I do agree with you. I think we should have gave him his final year of his contract, rookie deal. And we should have let him play that out just to see if he would have improved after shoulder surgery. And if he still performed terribly, yeah, then you go and get rid of him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you needed to move this moon in the stars to get Deshaun Watson. Like you said, and like the reporters said, when someone tells you no, just listen to them. When Deshaun said no, okay, be done with it. There's better people out there. Let Atlanta. I think at that time it was Atlanta and Carolina fighting for him too. Allow one of them to fight over him and get screwed. So I don't. It was either them or New Orleans or something. But let one of them get screwed over. So I would have let him gone to Atlanta. I would have let him get screwed or let Atlanta get screwed over. Yeah. And let them shit the bed for years. You didn't need to move everything to get Deshaun Watson. He didn't look happy to be here. He didn't look like he wanted to play in the cold. He couldn't handle the cold. And he was a terrible quarterback. He didn't want to be here, and he played like he didn't. So it was a horrible move, and that's probably going to set us back for a long while. Mm-hmm. And now the Haslam's are trying to cover up by going, hey, let's get a brand new stadium to cover up this whole Deshaun Watson mess. Because we don't want to be fucking blamed for it. So we're going to give you a pretty new state-of-the-art stadium. Yeah. Outside of the city. So I think they're just doing the stadium thing to cover up the Deshaun Watson crap.
Yeah. It was, and also the person that I was trying to mention here was Jason Lloyd. I don't know why I couldn't fucking remember his name. But he talked really good about that, about the fact that he thinks that Stefanski's a great coach that's simply getting swallowed up by the poison of what this season has been and really what I think is around him. I genuinely don't think he had. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Andrew Berry necessarily has his back as much as we think he does.
No.
And this is going to be the next point of whoever you're going to bring in as a quarterback here, whether it is a Sam Darnold, whether it's a Kirk Cousins, a Daniel Jones, a rookie, whoever, it has to be a guy that is 100% Stefanski's choice.
Yeah.
Like a guy that Stefanski he knows for a fact will work well in his system.
And the guy that does that is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, that's the top guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting with the cap and the fact he's got a no-trade clause, but he would waive it for Stefanski because he had so much success in Stefanski's offense. He knows it. And Stefanski would, immediately get rid of Ken Dorsey. He'd be like, bye, see you later. I mean, he's probably going to anyway, but in a second, it would happen. But Sam Darnold is a valuable option. Daniel Jones, depending on what sort of happens with him, he could be an option. You can still bring back Jameis and still kick the tires and just bring up a better run game and try to do it that way. Sort of like, or you bring back a guy like Brissett to just run the offense and not make a lot of turnovers, but you won't have explosive games. So it's sort of pick your poison here. And again, as they said, whoever they're going to bring in is going to be the guy that's going to go up against Watson. And whether Watson gets a chance to really even show himself this year or not, they are not going to just bow down and let him be quarterback one. They are done with that. I know for a fact they are. That's what everybody is saying, and I totally agree with them. There's no reason to give Watson your 100% confidence. You say, listen, you have not performed well. If you do not perform well, you're not playing. And it's quite literally that simple. You need to be prepared. You need to act like a fucking professional because that's what you are supposed to be. We are paying you top dollar, and you are playing like a third-string quarterback at best. It is pathetic. And this is what this team is right now. This is the shit that we have to deal with. And to top it all off, Nick Chubb, back on IR. Broken foot, obviously not a terrible, injury, but just another thing to add to the cherry on top. And the only team in the NFL that has more players on the IR is the Detroit Lions. And the Lions are going through what we went through last year. I feel for them so badly. They deserve to go to the freaking Super Bowl, and they might get that first round bye, but man, that's going to be tough for them to overcome that many injuries. 22 of their starters on IR. That is insanity. That's exactly the shit that we dealt with. So it's just another year of pain, and now we get to go into this game against the Bengals with DTR as a starting quarterback. So before I get into my sort of 2 cents on that, where are your thoughts on DTR? Because we sort of expected this after the Chiefs game. We said, hey, let Jameis sort of run through this Chiefs game, and regardless of what happens, DTR should be the guy that you see for the rest of the season, or at least for the next game, just to see what you got.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm happy we called the shot. That was great by us saying that DTR was going to be the starter. But to be honest, I don't mind seeing DTR as a starter because there's 3 games left. You might as well just see what he has.
Yep.
Because you never know. He could play really well, and maybe you don't have to get a quarterback. Maybe you can just ride DTR or something. And people are like, well, DTR was terrible. It's like, well, look at the games that he's played in. They were on short notice where they're like, oh, by the way, Deshaun's not playing. It's like an hour and a half before kickoff, and they're like, oh, by the way, by the way, DTR, you're starting. He's like, oh, shit. Like, now I got to quickly learn the plays that we're going to run. I have to quickly do this, quickly do that. And I have to play against one of the best teams in fucking football on an hour and a half notice. Because you get 90 minutes. You have 90 minutes before kickoff, you have to release the injury report.
Yep.
And so he knew an hour and a half before kickoff that he was playing. That's terrible, especially against the Ravens. And it happened again later in the year where he's like, oh, by the way, you're starting on a 90 minutes notice. And he's like, oh, great, again. So I feel for him because those games he was not prepared at all. He didn't have a week full of practice with the first team, and I felt bad for him. And even and then a couple of the other games he played this season, like the Bengals game, he came in after Deshaun got injured and came in again right in the get-go, not playing first team reps. Yep. Instead of going with Jameis Winston, they went with DTR, went out through 2 picks, decent balls. I think it was just miscommunication on the wide receiver and the quarterback, but they were good balls and right where they should be.
Yeah.
But they were picked off. And then, of course, Jameis comes in. You go down and score a touchdown. It's like, well, maybe if you roll with Jameis from the get-go, you probably win that football game.
Oh.
But it's neither here nor there. But, again, a couple of the games this season, he came on short notice. This is the first time I've seen him have a full week of practice with the first team. And so maybe he plays a lot different. Maybe he plays a little bit better. We never know. He actually has first team reps for a full week, not sitting there getting third string practice squad reps. And then 90 minutes before kickoff, oh, by the way, son, you got to go against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, oh, okay, cool. Thumbs up. I'm going to get killed.
Yeah.
Like, I feel for the poor kid. I think he deserves a shot. I think he deserves a fair shot. We did draft him, so he at least deserves the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, too, if he doesn't go well, hell, you might as well keep him as a practice squad QB for the next couple of years or something, just as an emergency backup. And we all know he could run. He had a couple of great runs against Kansas City at the end. Like 15-yard rushes. So we know he can escape the pocket and use his legs.
Right.
But now you can see what he can do with his arm with legit wide receivers and not on a fucking 90-minute notice. And he'll actually have some communications with the wide receivers this time. So, yeah, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's getting the start. I think he's going to do okay. I think he's going to do just fine. Is he going to win? Probably not. But I think a lot of the mistakes that he had were because he was on such short notice and he had no communication with the receivers, the offensive line, nothing. And it relied on him to use his legs a lot.
Yeah.
So I think this is him. This is his opportunity to showcase, hey, this is why we drafted you. because to be fair, looking at his old college stats, he had like a 70% completion rating, not a whole lot of picks, and it's like a good touchdown to interception ratio, and he was on like 70% completion rating. So it's not like he was awful in college. Just, again, doesn't play on 90 minutes notice while he's in college. He gets first team reps, and this is his first true opportunity, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I don't expect him
to be great.
To
I don't
play
either.
an amazing game.
I don't either.
I do expect him to make a couple plays with his legs. He'll make a couple cool throws on the run. Like he'll make some kind of athletic plays.
Yeah.
And for him to have a full week of preparation, he's gonna be nice and prepared because I know Jameis is at least gonna help him as much as he can.
Oh, absolutely.
One, like say what you want about Jameis and his play on the field and whatnot. He's an outstanding dude in the locker room, and that's why he does have like actual presence on this team and why he means something here.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna have the backing and he's gonna have the leadership that he needs. But I'm just obviously I don't have a lot of notations. So after all this season, there's not a whole lot for me to really be excited about. But the only thing that's going to benefit him is the fact that the Bengals are just that bad on defense. I mean, they literally let Will Levis, who has not been playing well this year, besides a few games,
tear them
up. I mean, the Bengals still won, but they did not play pretty, and Burrow is pissed. Dude, as long as Garrett plays, you have a chance because Garrett alone puts fear into Joe Burrow. I don't know how every single year that we play the Bengals, that dude just shows up and plays out of his fucking mind. I don't know. But our defense played decently well last week. But like besides a few plays, the defense held their own, and I was not upset at all about most of the players. Obviously, the Thornhills, those type of players are just, man, I can't wait to see them go. But for this team, you're playing for pride, but at this point, I would rather have them lose out and just try to get the highest pick that you can. Like if you can somehow get a top 5 pick in this draft, at this point, it puts you in prime position to do whatever you want. Because if somebody wants to move up for a QB or whatever, and you're like, I don't want to take any of these guys, then you trade back and you load up on more picks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think that's the game that the Browns are going to try to play because that's what AB does. But you can't get too far away from still trying to draft some damn good talent. It's, and that'll be another conversation for a later time. But for this game, I don't expect a lot. I don't expect the Browns to play that well. I do want to see guys like Jerome Ford take that next step in this game because he had that really nice run. That was our only points, for the entire day. I would really like to see him sort of get behind that line and really play a much better game. Because he has his moments where he has great plays like that. Then he has his moments where like he did earlier on in the game where he had like arguably one of the worst runs I've seen him play. Like he cut out and he could have cut back inside to go to the hole and just completely looked away from the hole and just kept running and he got like a 1 yard gain when he could have gotten a 6 yard gain. And that's his issue. He doesn't have the running back vision that he needs. And that's been my gripe with Ford for the last 2 seasons. And I'm just waiting for him to sort of get it. And he just hasn't. And that's why I think this running back room is going to look a lot different by next season. But I'm just looking for some guys to play well. And I really hope that whoever we have out receiving wise is going to help DTR out as much as they can because he's going to need it. He is not, like I said, he is not a great thrower by any means. But let's see what the kid's got. And
yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I said this yet, but no matter how much he struggles, no matter how great he plays, no matter how bad he plays, Do not pull him. Let him struggle. Like, let him go through it all. Don't throw in Zappy yet. If you want Zappy to play in the last game, go for it. We'll see how DTR responds in this game, and if he plays really, really, really bad, then fuck it. Throw out Zappy in the last 2 games. Who gives a shit? But at least for this game, let DTR play it. Let him go through. Like, you have to analyze him in that degree because you obviously don't think he's going to be your starter for next year in place of Watson. But if he could still be a backup or even a third stringer, then that's fine. Like, at least you know what you have there, but you have to learn a little bit more. And I think letting him go through the struggles, letting him go through it is going to be the best thing for him regardless. And also for his head, because you can't pull him, midway through this game or, early to mid third quarter. And then he gets pulled and then his confidence is down, and then he becomes another, sad QB that can't get out of that funk because he's not confident. I just don't want them to do that to him, no matter how bad or good I think he is. I just don't want him to have to go through that. So let him go through it. Like, let him ride out that game. Let him ride out the struggles, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. I think this is, and when I went on to the ESPN 6 hours ago, Daniel Oyefusi, who's a Browns writer, Oyefusi, yeah, that's how you pronounce it. His article said DTR hopes to show the Browns that he could be the QB1 next year. And hey, look, this is his opportunity. He's got 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, to be fair, if you can go out and even win these 3 games and do really well, he might earn himself a spot.
Yeah.
Maybe they decide to go with a Kirk Cousins, a Daniel Jones, or a Sam Darnold as a starter next year, but he definitely would solidify himself as a solid QB2 backup.
Yep.
In Cleveland, and be like, listen, hey, these guys are trash, man. It's your time to shine. And so I want him to do well. I really do. Like, I would love it if he went out there. Yeah, and I would love it if he went out there on Sunday in Cincinnati, threw for like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed for like 60 yards or something, and just completely the fuck out and just absolutely go crazy, like doing some like flexes and stuff, and be like, let him get that confidence and be like, oh, this kid is something. Like, make yourself look like something, kid. Like, go out there, ball your ass out, and show what you're worth, man. Prove to this team that, hey, I'm the QB1. You don't need nobody.
Yep.
And he's 23 years old. And if he could do that, hey, man, maybe you do have the QB of the future, and he was right in the palm of your hands, and you'd even notice. And that's how some teams get their quarterbacks, man. They're sometimes sitting in the back waiting, and you give them that chance, and they shine, man, and they're there. They will give you what you need. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited for him. I hope he takes use of this opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, he's gonna get the chance. I mean,
he's gonna get the chance.
He's
yeah,
definitely gonna get the chance, but don't have high expectations.
Oh no,
but
I'm not saying he is gonna be the QB1. Yeah, I'm not saying he's gonna be the QB1 and shit next year.
No,
like, I'm not. No, I'm not saying he is, but
no.
I want him to succeed, is what I'm saying. Is like, I want him to do I want him to do really well, and that there is no competition next year. They're going to get a QB, and DTR is the solidified number 2. Push Watson back to that 3, and make him non-existent. That's what fans want from him. Is to make Deshaun Watson non-existent. Play your ass off. Score over 20 points. Get 250 yards or 300 yards or whatever. We're not asking you to do too much. We're just asking you to just do what you have to do to just go out there and win a football game.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want you to do. And again, this is his tryout. And who knows? Maybe if he does really well, some teams will pick him up and give us good compensation back for him. So, and you never know.
Yeah. So I mean, see how it goes. We'll, again, we'll see. but I'm sort of off the topic of the Browns because I want to move into the more fun game, the more interesting game, the game that we are going to talk a lot more about this week. So the college football playoff has officially started, and it's the first year for the 12-team playoff. Ohio State versus Tennessee. Night game, 8 o'clock game at the Shoe. This is going to be a good game. I think this is going to be one of the better first playoff games than some of the other ones that are on the tally for this Saturday. We've had a few weeks to sort of calm down from the Team Up North loss, and I'm still not over it one bit, obviously, as an Ohio State fan. But I still feel very confident in this team if they can just get back to what they do best. They really overthought what they needed to do against that Team Up North. They really played to the strength of that Team Up North and not our strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it costed them. And even Chip Kelly said we did not do what we needed to do to put the offense in the position that they needed to win that game. But again, now that we've had a few weeks to calm down, what is your feelings going into this game alone? And ultimately, what are you looking to see Ohio State do in this game in order to win and go to the next round?
To be honest, dude, I'm like 50-50 right now.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that a lot of my confidence was lost after the Team Up North game.
Yeah.
Like my confidence was shot. Because just seeing the entire playbook being halfback dive the entire game, like, are we just scared of teams now? Like, oh man, we just got to run up the middle every single time. Like, I don't want to throw it. I don't want to do nothing. And then, like you said, Chip Kelly and Ryan Day came out and said we should have thrown the ball more. We should have utilized our guys more. Like, I was like, yeah, no shit, dude. Like, of course you should have. Like, this is what we hired you to do. Like, not be afraid and do the crazy stuff and be Ohio State football. And in order for us to win this game on Saturday, I almost said tonight, on Saturday night, you got to get guys like Jeremiah Smith more involved. You have to air it out to him a bit. You have to get guys like Emeka Egbuka downfield. You have to get these guys going. You have to get Carnell Tate up the middle. You have to get these guys in their positions. Don't be afraid to throw it deep every so often. Like, take a chance. I'd rather Will Howard throw a 40 or 45, 50-yard pick than a 3-yard pick on a screen pass because the defense read it so well because you're too afraid to do anything else. Like, I'd rather you heave it and just try and get your guys open. Try and get Jeremiah Smith the ball because he's your playmaker.
Yeah.
You have to get him going. Emeka Egbuka is a playmaker. You have to get him going. Get Junkins and Henderson to the outside. Stop running them up the middle. Get them to the outside so they can use that burst of speed and just cruise down the sidelines. You have to put the players in the best positions and the positions that they're the strongest in. Michigan cannot stop the outside run, yet you continue to run up the middle. Why not? If you're going to run the ball, use the outside. They couldn't stop it.
Yep.
Every time you did, you had 10-yard gains, so 10-yard plus gains. Anytime you threw the ball semi-deep past 15 yards, completed for big plays. And yet you stopped doing those for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. You gave up on this stuff. It's like watching the Browns. You gave up on the stuff that worked. Like, okay, this stuff worked, so we don't need to do this again. No, that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Stop going away from it. Do those things. Jeremiah Smith could have 200 receiving yards in this game if you give him those opportunities. These guys could do so well if you just give them the opportunity. Now's the time to show up and show out and not be afraid. Now is the time. This is a college football playoff, man. This is about taking risks. This is about taking gambles. Yeah. If you don't, you will lose. You have to take gambles. And now's not the time to screw this. You're not playing these weak teams anymore. You're not playing Akron anymore. You're not playing, Nebraska anymore. You're not playing Michigan State anymore. You're not playing these weak-ass teams anymore. Tennessee's a formidable opponent. They're a good football program. You have to take gambles and take risks. If you don't, it's over. You've lost. If you let them get the first few points of the game, even if it's a field goal, you've lost. It's pretty much set in stone. You have to set the stage. You have to set the precedent. It's at home. You have to take a risk. If you don't, and if you play like you did against Michigan, it's going to be another 13-10 loss, and you're out of the college football playoff. And everyone in that sideline, except for probably Brian Hartline, is out of a job.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think that we can beat the Bulls. I don't think that Tennessee is perfect. They're not. But like Michigan, they are very good up front. And that seemed to really be a struggle bus for us. And if we continue to sort of fall into that trap of playing into what the Bulls want to do on defense instead of doing what we want to do on offense and letting them try to fix their shit, it's going to be a rough game. It's going to be a very back and forth game. It's going to be a stressful game.
Yeah.
And, as you said, I'm sorry, man. When you got guys like Jeremiah Smith and Abuka and Tate, those guys are going to win those one-on-one balls any freaking day, especially Jeremiah Smith. Like, if you're throwing a 50-50 ball to him, Jeremiah Smith is going to get that down about 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, he had
because
3
of
one-handed catches.
Athleticism. Yeah, I mean, he's just an athletic machine. He's a freak. Yeah. He's not 18. Like, there's no way that dude's 18. He is just absolutely insane. And as you said, with or at the running backs, you got to get them out in space. You got to let their speed really facilitate properly. Like, you cannot be doing these freaking inside zone sort of read option sort of things. Howard needs to get back to being okay with reading the defense if they are going to do the sort of the RPOs. If he has a lane, take it. Get your first down, or at least get positive yardage, especially early on in the down. Like, make plays with your feet. It's okay to take risks. It just needs to be calculated, and it needs to actually matter in that moment. You cannot take a risk like a Stefanski will do on a 4th down, and they try to do a reverse on a 4th and 1 when it makes no sense to do that. Like, Ohio State does have to be smart, but Day overcomplicates it at times. I think he overthinks things. He gets into his head too much, and that is what kills him. That is what makes Day lose these bigger games, is he complicates what he needs to do, and it's already out in front of you. It's the outline is here. Use your fucking playmakers. You have tons of them everywhere on this offense. Use them, and use them often. Okay? Like, you should be able to win this game by 2 touchdowns. That's how good of a football team you are capable of being. The Vols obviously come from the SEC. They come from a really good conference, but the SEC was not that great this year. Let's put it how it is. The Big Ten has been a better conference than the SEC. Okay? We have played more physical games than the SEC has this year, allegedly. Ohio State needs to prove it. Like, and let's also talk about this real quick. Ohio State has the toughest path to the national championship out of any team, because if you win this game, you instantly play Oregon, I believe. You don't even get to play Oregon in the national championship. You get to play them the next round if you win this game. So you were already putting yourself in a tough spot, losing the way that you did and being the 8th seed. It's going to be a tough road. Like, it is not going to be easy. And that sort of rolls into my next thing here. What happens if Ryan Day loses this game? Like, would it truly be the end for him? And if he does win this, can he actually redeem himself and basically keep his job just by competing in the playoffs? Like, does he have to win a national championship basically in order to keep his job, or do you think he can get to Oregon, lose a close game, and still keep his job.
So I said this before in the pod, and I'm gonna just reiterate it. It's championship or bust for Ryan Day. You are the favorite to win the national championship. You have been before the season started. Like 90% of the media, 90% of the fans had Ohio State winning the national championship this year. It is championship or bust for Ryan Day. It doesn't matter if he loses this game, the next game, the game after that, or the national championship game. If he loses any of these games, it's over.
Yeah.
It is over. Because this is what, now the third time you've lost a national championship game? The third time?
Yeah.
And you've lost twice in the semifinals? It's over, dog. You can't lose in the semifinals every single year of your 5-year career and lose in the finals multiple times too.
Yeah.
You have to win something. You got to win something. It's just beating Michigan now is not enough. You have to win something. If you don't win anything this year, you're gone. You're canned. I'm sorry, dog. It's over. So for Ryan Day, it's championship or bust. If you don't win the national championship, the board's going to look at you and be like, we gave you 5, almost 6 years now. You haven't won anything, and you've lost to Michigan 4 out of the 5 years. Yeah. It's time to go, pal. It's time to go. So that's what it is now. It's championship or bust. You have to win. If he wants to keep his job, he's got to go all the way.
Yeah.
You can't lose any of these games. It don't matter if you lose to Oregon by a touchdown. I don't care if you lose to Georgia by a field goal. It's over if you do not win the Natty. It's done, dusted, kaput. It's over. It's gone. It's done. You have to win. Otherwise, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Mike Vrabel, do you want to be the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes? Because that's what's going to happen if you don't win the Natty. No. Mike Vrabel's going to drive the 2 hours down to C-Bus and become the new head coach.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think he has been with Cleveland this entire time? He doesn't care about that Browns gig.
No, fuck no.
He doesn't give a fuck. He wants to go back to college.
He knows Stefanski's going to stay there.
Yeah.
Guess what? He wants the OSU job.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody keeps saying. But I will say, as much as I hate Ryan Day, so much, I hate him, and I really do want to get rid of him so badly. But I believe as long as you make it to the national championship, let's say you lose it, but you lose it in a close game. It's not a blowout. It's a like the Georgia game a few years ago where we missed that field goal at the very end to win the game. If it's a game like that, I think they could consider bringing him back just because he got them there despite everything. He got them into the playoffs, fought the hardest road, and just fell short. And this is the only reason why. Ryan Day has been very active, always has every year, in recruiting good talent, at least in certain positions. Like I would say he's exceptional with running backs, with receivers, quarterbacks, been down on the linemen, I think, especially on both sides. When's the last time we've had a good DN? Chase Young.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We haven't really recruited well on defense, to be honest with you. Besides a few, good guys, decent linebackers, and decent D tackles, decent safeties. But a lot of the guys that we have that are really, really good, most of them came from transfers. I can't lie. Or they're just here because they've been here for 3 or 4 seasons. Ryan Day does have to do a little bit better, but he is the reason why we have always a top 5 recruiting class. And that's the only concern is if you fire him, how many guys do you lose in the portal, in commits? And that's why I'm saying if you do move on from Day, it needs to be like how the Nick Saban, retiring and then them adding the coach from Washington like 24 hours later. It needs to be that quick of a turnaround if you do that. Like, you cannot waste any time. It is Ryan Day gets fired 5 minutes later. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Hey, it's the AD for OSU. Hey, you want to come coach here? I have a blank check for you, and you can stay here as long as you want. I have a blank check. Are you ready? All right, let's get to work. All right, he's signed, and that's how it needs to go down. If that is the case, but I'm still willing to give Day the chance, just because I want this team to win. It's not like I want them to lose because of Ryan Day. I want them to win, but Ryan Day is building a weird culture, and he's not winning games that matter. He's winning games that like he wins the games that are cool. Like we obviously beat Penn State and we beat Indiana. Okay. But Penn State is pretty solid. They played Oregon pretty well, but you knew Oregon was going to beat them. And Indiana is a fucking joke. Indiana's a joke. The rest of the Big Ten was trash this year for us, as always. And next year, you're going to have an even harder schedule because you're going to start your year against Texas. Starting the first game of the season, Texas. So you get to play Arch Manning. Like, do you really trust Variable or Day to start the year with a dub against Arch Manning? I don't.
Nope.
I really don't. With how slow Ohio State comes out of every game, I don't expect it to happen. And it is just one of those things that I cannot stress to you enough. It's just ridiculous. It is. But we'll see. You know,
I
like
hope
I
you like
said,
what I just. I hope you
I
like
know.
what I just saw or shared with you.
And look, I know that everybody at Ohio State really is high on Day, and it really doesn't sound like they necessarily want to just get rid of him unless it
No.
absolutely makes sense. So we will see. But I do agree with whoever, I forget who fucking said this. I think it was last week on the Fan. As you guys can tell, I listen to the Fan every morning when I go to work because I've been training an hour away from where I live, so I have an hour drive there and an hour drive back. So it's sports talk all day long with some music. But somebody said that even though Day loses to that team up north a lot, with the playoffs being the way that they are, it's almost like that game doesn't matter because it gave them this 3-week reset that they didn't need, but they got. I mean, Oregon just played last weekend, and now they get to play this weekend. So they had 1 week off, and then they're back to it. Sometimes that can benefit you. Sometimes it can't. We've seen it in many forms and many sports. Sometimes the rest helps, and sometimes it gets you really rusty. So we will see, but it's not like this team isn't capable of winning some, this national championship. It's just this is the hardest road possible. So
For sure.
I'm still excited. And before we
Me
get
too.
into our week picks, I do want to add that Andrew and I are going to be live streaming the game just like we did against Michigan. So kickoff is at 8 p.m. We will be live a little bit before then, probably like 7:45 or so, to just kind of start chatting a little bit. And then whoever wants to join in and talk with us, sit in the chat. We'll have the scoreboard up because obviously we can have the game up, and we are going to sit here with y'all, and we are going to bullshit for the 3 or 4 hours that game is going to take, and you're going to see once again guys like myself who get really into the games, really get into them, and you're going to see that. So if you guys want to see that, come through on Saturday at 8 p.m. for the game.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm excited because we have not streamed since
the Michigan game.
I think it was that. Yeah,
It
really was that game because we haven't. I mean, we're not gonna live stream a Browns game.
So, if the Browns were good,
if the Browns were in, dude, if the Browns were in the playoffs, live streaming would be lit.
Or even just like 500 at this point and just play like, oh yeah, it's against the Bengals. Hell yeah, we'll live stream that shit. Like, but we're not gonna live stream a 3-11 football team starting DTR.
No, I mean, if anything, we'll try to live stream some Cavs games in the future as well, because the
Yeah.
Cavs are still rolling. They just beat up on the Nets. I know they suck. The Cavs are getting really fortunate, by the way, with getting a lot of the shitty teams out of the way and
Yeah.
really padding the stats. But at least they're winning those games. The
I
only
mean, we
teams that
hammered
they
the
haven't,
Nuggets.
yeah, I mean the only teams that we haven't been able to really beat is Atlanta. I don't know what Atlanta has against us. We cannot beat them. They
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
match our pace, I think.
I think they just match our pace, and they just. I mean, they just they beat the Knicks in the NBA Cup. And I remember Trae Young. He was like, "Boo, get the fuck out of here, Boston." That made me laugh so hard. I was like, "No, that's so funny."
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I love
So yeah,
Trae Young for that.
so yeah, make sure to tune in. It'll be on YouTube and Twitch as well. We'll obviously tweet and post everything when things do go live. But yeah, be ready for that. So we'll get into the picks. Andrew, what were the records from last week? Where are we at?
So last week we tied, baby, 12-4.
Okay.
12-4.
Right, good week.
We had a great week. It was 12-4.
What games did we miss?
So we missed the Carolina game and Dallas game because we both had Carolina.
Of course.
We missed the Detroit game because we had Detroit beating Buffalo. And then we missed the Chargers game because we had Tampa Bay losing to the Chargers. And then I lost the San Francisco Rams Thursday night game.
That's right.
And then you lost the Houston-Miami game. Because you had Miami, I had Houston. So
that's right. Miami came in and absolutely fucking
shit the bed.
Tua did his best Jameis impression is what he did.
No kidding. Quickly, let me share my screen too. Also, the record now, you're sitting at 136-73. Not bad. I am at 132-77.
Woo, we're getting there.
So you're still at a 4-game lead. But I'm inching closer and closer. So this could be make or break it. I mean, we got 2 weeks left.
Yes, sir.
So this is make or break it time. And we start with Thursday Night Football with the Broncos and Chargers. So we got a tough one already right from the get-go.
All right. So this one's honestly tough. This is a pretty evenly matched game considering.
It's an OA.
Okay.
Teams on the right are at home. Teams on the left are on the road.
Both good defenses. I am going to pick the Chargers here, but I will not be surprised if the Broncos do it, because even though they didn't play that well last week, they're still putting up points. Their defense is getting turnovers. Like, they are nasty, but I'm going to pick Chargers.
So I already went different with you on this. I went with the Denver Broncos. Just because for some reason Bo Nix and the Broncos have just been steamrolling teams as of late, and they've been rolling. Yeah. And they look really good. I know Bo Nix really didn't have – I don't think he had the best of performances this past week, but still got the job done, still got the win. But I think Cortland's son have found something. And I think the Broncos finally have their QB of the future in Bo Nix.
Oh, yeah.
And – again, like you said, these are probably the top 2 defenses in the NFL. So this is going to be a very heavily defensive matchup. It's basically just battle of the QBs. And I'm excited, but I have the Denver Broncos. I think they're just going to edge it out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, our first Saturday slated game, Houston versus Kansas City.
I do think... So here's the thing. Obviously, Mahomes, he's like 50 right now at playing. I don't know why they would play him at this point. If you got a nickel injury, just let him sit. Carson Wentz will probably still play pretty decent. I'm still going to pick the Chiefs because they are at home. But if Mahomes is out, I will hopefully expect Stroud to show up and play much better and really give Houston a chance to win the game, because again, the Chiefs did not play well against us, man. They really did not. So I'm not going to be surprised if Houston also does this, but just for the simple fact that it is Kansas City, they are at home, regardless of who's at quarterback, they're probably going to run the shit out of the ball, and it's probably going to be fine. So
Yeah, that's my thought process here. I went with Kansas City just for the fact that I don't think it matters who the starting quarterback is. Somehow, some way, they always just pull wins out of their ass, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to happen again. So I went with Kansas City. Our second and final Saturday game, the Steelers versus the Ravens.
Ravens are at home. I'm going Ravens. This is sort of going to be like a revenge game for them.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are starting to slow down a little bit with how good they were playing. They're still decent. Like they're still a solid squad. But I just like the Ravens are going to win that game.
Yeah, I went with the Ravens. I said it last week. I think I said it last week or the week before, and I'm going to say it again. I think, despite the Steelers' records, I think they're kind of frauds. I think they've just been getting a little luck on their side.
Oh yeah.
I think Baltimore puts that to bed, and I think they put it away in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they kind of just cruise on the victory. And I mean like cruise, I mean like a 34 to like 10 kind of game, or like 34 to 40. Like they don't like let up on the gas or something.
Yeah.
So I got Baltimore at home, just crushing Pittsburgh.
Hell yeah.
The New York Giants versus the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going Atlanta here. New York is about as abysmal as the Browns are. Their quarterbacks keep getting hurt, and then they have to put the other guy in, and the other guy just doesn't play well. Also, Penix Juju Jr. is getting the start, and I think it could actually – I can see it either going horribly or he is going to give them a big boost. But regardless, Atlanta is going to run the ball. They haven't really scored a whole lot, so they're going to run the ball. They're going to try to control the pace. The Giants are a perfect team for him to sort of start his first game in because they're just so bad. So I just don't see how New York beats them in Atlanta. And if they do, I might throw up.
Yeah, me too. But no, I agreed. I said Atlanta just for the fact that I think no matter who the starting quarterback is, whether it's Kirk or Penix, I think I just think the Giants are the absolute worst team in football. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, I know they beat us, but I think if the Browns were to play the Giants now, I don't think they would beat us even with DTR as starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I think they're really that bad. So I have no faith in them winning for the rest of the year. I'm probably not going to vote for them to win at all the rest of the year. And I think they're the first pick of the draft this year.
Oh, yeah.
So I went with Atlanta. All right, Arizona and Carolina.
Carolina's at home, but they still did not play well. I mean, I still think Carolina is gonna try to probably not tank per se, but the Cardinals are they're playing well enough to win games. I see that continuing, but I know it is going to be cold in Carolina this week. I think I actually just saw it. I think it's going to be like 35 degrees in Carolina this week. So that's going to be an interesting element because both of those guys really haven't played in cold weather. So this game could go either way, but I'm going to pick the Cardinals just because regardless, they have a much better running game. And the Panthers really haven't gone to Chuba in the last 2 or 3 games, which is weird. Yeah. So James Conner is going on a tear. And yeah, they're playing good. So
yeah, I went with the Arizona Cardinals just like you said, for the reason that, yeah, it's going to be cold, but they're going to run the shit out of James Conner. And it's going to be like 100-yard day for James Conner, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like 100 yards, 2 touchdowns type of day or something. So I'm going with James Conner just for the fact that I think they're just going to run the throats down in Carolina, and Carolina's just not – their defense is just god-awful. That whole team is just horrible, and even though they're at home, like you said, they played piss poor this past week. So not really a fan of them. So Arizona's my choice. This one should be kind of easy as well. Detroit versus Chicago.
Detroit is going to win this. Now, Chicago did play them very well
Yeah, on Thanksgiving.
on Thanksgiving, and it is at home, so it is probably going to help them. Again, Detroit has 22 guys on IR right now, which does not help them, but regardless, they still have enough. Like they still have a really solid offense. I know their defense is sort of torn apart, but luckily for you, you're playing Caleb Williams. He doesn't know how to read a defense, and all you got to do is bring constant pressure to him, and he is going to crack. So Detroit all day.
Yeah, I will with Detroit just for the fact that they have 22 guys on IR, but Caleb Williams is a bust. We said this from the get-go when he got drafted. Me and you both said he was a bust. His reaction this past week too showed that, because it was like the reaction that he had at USC, where he almost wanted to cry to his mom. He's not an NFL-worthy quarterback. I think he was just overhyped by the media back when he was at USC. And I don't know why they chose to overhype Caleb Williams, because even in college, he was worse than the backup quarterback there. Because I think they had a game where Caleb Williams started and he did like 250 passing yards, like two touchdowns with like 4 picks, whatever.
Yep.
And then they started, I think they started to back up in the bowl game, whatever, and the backup threw for like 380, like 4 or 5 touchdowns, like no picks, like just absolutely cleared him. And everyone's like, oh my god, the backup's like twice as good as Caleb. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made him cry or whatever, and somehow he still became the number 1 overall pick, and I think he's just atrocious. So I went with Detroit because, like you said, constant pressure on Caleb Williams, and he just crumbles. And as long as Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown are healthy, that's all you really need. So I went with the Detroit Lions.
Sweet.
Tennessee and Indianapolis.
Oh, this is kind of a shit bowl, to be honest.
This is a trash bowl.
So the Titans just announced that they are going to start Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
And obviously the Colts are who they are. I still think the Colts win this because they are at home. Like, I'm going to give them that. The Colts really should try to get Jonathan Taylor going in this game. He's been really quiet the last few weeks, even a month or so. Like, he hasn't put up big numbers, and I know he's battled a couple of injuries here and there, but the Colts are just fucking up by not giving him the ball, and I think they need to get back to doing what they do best and run the ball first. And the Titans are a good team to do that. So, go Colts.
Yeah, I went with the Colts as well. Just like you said, they're at home. They should be able to pound the run game against Tennessee because they have a weak rushing game. Mason Rudolph is starting, but I don't think that really matters because the defense is just horrible for Tennessee. They might put up a couple points, but they're going to give up a lot more than what they're going to put up. And I think that just ruins them. So for me, give me the Colts. And I can't wait to hear that one guy sing the song again because I love it every single week. All right, Rams versus Jets.
This is gonna be a funny game. So I'm gonna pick the Rams because the Rams are just playing really solid. But the Jets did squeak one out last week.
Yeah.
And it is at home in New York. But didn't you have some crazy stat that said there hasn't been a New York team that's won at MetLife in like 2 or 3 years?
There hasn't. I think the stat, and I'll have to go back and look at I know the Giants haven't won at MetLife this year. I don't know if the Jets have or not. I don't think they had this year, but I think it was the last time a New York team won at MetLife was back in February of this year. And it was the NHL team, the New York Rangers, when they had an outdoor series game. The New York Rangers was like the last team that won at. Okay, so the last win at MetLife was the Jets versus Patriots week 3 this year. Other than that, they have lost every single game at MetLife this year. Same with the Giants. The Giants have not won. I don't think they won a single game at MetLife this year. And I'm gonna double check on that. Yeah, the Giants haven't won a game at MetLife at all. So
That's wild.
So
That is a wild stat, guys.
So besides the Jets winning in week 3 at home, the last win at MetLife was February 28th. It was the New York Rangers winning in an outdoor hockey game. So
Jeez.
that lets you know how bad New York football has been when a hockey team has won a more recent game at MetLife. It's
Jeez.
depressing. So yeah, I went with the Rams just for the fact that that's crazy, and I think that stat's going to continue. It just makes me laugh, dude. But moving on to an NFC East battle between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders.
Eagles.
Okay.
I know they're away, and I know, Washington's played pretty solid, but I think when you compare the two teams, I think the Eagles are just quite a bit better than where Washington is right now.
Yeah, and I went a little crazy here, and I went with the Washington Commanders.
You love Washington this year.
I do, just because for some reason it just makes me feel like this could be the Browns in the next year, like 2 years or something, where it's like, oh, we drafted a quarterback. Oh my God, this is just exactly what we needed.
Right.
And we're finally good again. But no, I like Washington because I think the Eagles have solidified their spot. I think everyone knows who the Eagles are. And for some reason, I just see them taking a step back in this game just a little bit. But I think Washington just has what it takes to win in this game. I really do. Like, I know I put a lot of chips on Washington this year.
Oh, yeah.
But they haven't let me down much at all. I think they only let me down like one time. And, I mean, they were one of the games I won last week. I think that was one of the games you lost.
Yep.
Was, we both had Washington beat New Orleans. It was one of these weeks I had Washington and you didn't, and Washington ended up winning. It was Washington Tennessee game back in like week 13 or something.
Yeah,
but I don't know, dude. I just like Washington. I like Jaden Daniels. I just like that team, and I think they're a solid squad. And I think if there's anyone, especially in the NFC East, that could take down the Eagles, it's Washington. So. Okay. And I'm not afraid to shout that to the world.
Yeah, no shit.
Give me the goddamn Commanders, baby. Let's go.
All right. All right.
Browns and Bengals.
We already know your answer, so you don't even have to say it. Move on. Vikings, Seattle.
Yeah, I went with the Browns. I'm just kidding. I went with the Bengals. I believe. Give me DTR, baby. I rip out my shirts and DTR jersey. Give me DTR, baby. I believe. QB1 of the future. No, I went with the Cincinnati Bengals. We're ass. Give us the number 2 pick in the draft. I'm just kidding.
Yes, sir.
Give me Minnesota or Seattle.
All right. Minnesota is going to win this game, despite being in Seattle. I think Geno Smith is questionable right now, so if he's not able to play, I don't even know who Seattle has behind him, to be honest with you. I don't really know their quarterback situation.
I could look that up real quick.
Because that's definitely not Drew Lock, because he's with New York, so I know it's not that. Fuck, I'm trying to remember who's there.
I'm trying to remember too, and I don't for the life of me just know. Oh, it's Sam Howell.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah. Fucking Vikings all the way regardless.
Because even if Geno plays, he's not 100%, and it's not going to help.
Right now, they don't have anything besides Geno's name on the depth chart, but they have questionables of Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, DK Metcalf, Noah Fant, their center. They have 2 guards on IR right now. They're missing 2 or 3 defensive players. They have like 5 defensive players also on IR. But everyone's pretty much like injured right now for the Seahawks. I mean, like I said, DK, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Noah Fant. I mean, Sam, like you said, Sam Howell might start playing this game if Gino can't go.
Yeah.
So, but as of right now, there's nothing next to Gino's name. But yeah, it's Sam Howell, and that's why, because I have the Vikings too, because I saw that like a few days ago because I make my picks on Sleeper because I'm a part of one of those pick'ems team things
Yeah.
like because one of my friends I'm in a league with, they decided to do a pick'ems league too, or do a pick'ems thing, whatever. That's on Sleeper as well. So we did that as well this year, and your boy's killing it. But it's funny because there's times where I come on here and I switch my picks a little bit before the show, even though like last week or this week I went 13-3 on a Sleeper and I went 12-4 because I changed one pick, and it was the wrong team to choose. So I went with my gut this entire time and stuck with what I picked on Sleeper. But I had Minnesota, like you said, because I saw Sam Howell might be playing earlier in the week, and I was like, yeah, no bueno for the Seattle Seahawks. Give me the Minnesota Vikings.
Right. Sweet.
All right. Well, this one we could just gloss over too. It's New England versus Buffalo and Buffalo.
Buffalo. I mean, dude.
New England. I'm just kidding.
I mean, you got to think with Detroit having so many injuries, Buffalo has to be the Super Bowl favorite right now.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, after last week's performance, that was a fucking dynamite of a game. Buffalo is for real, man. And if there's any team out there that isn't scared about them, you should be. That is a scary freaking Josh Allen is at an MVP level right now with not even the best guys that he's had as weapons.
His number one receiver is Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
That's
because Keon Coleman hasn't done shit like they projected him to be, and Amari's been hurt for like half of the games that he's been there. So
yeah,
he hasn't really produced. So he doesn't have a whole lot of help, and they're just tearing it up because he's doing it by him.
Imagine if Stephon Diggs never left.
What could have been for that team?
Well, what could have been for Stephon Diggs? Now he's probably pissed he's not going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because he decided to go down to Houston, and Houston's jack shit now because they aren't the same as last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Stephon Diggs, if you're listening, you screwed up, big dog. You should have stayed in Buffalo.
He knows.
But yeah, I love Buffalo. It's the easiest game you can predict. It's probably going to be like 4 feet of snow in that game too, just because it's Buffalo.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, give me Drake May and New England Patriots. I'm just kidding. All right, another game that is super, super hard to choose from is Jacksonville and the Raiders.
I'm going to pick Jacksonville. I'm going to pick Jacksonville. The Raiders just put Max Crosby on IR. They're done. I think they have Riddler as their quarterback right now, or Riddler.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter. Yeah, it's GG for them. I mean, obviously, Jacksonville has Mac Jones, which is not much better.
Dude, this is
at least he has people to throw to.
Yeah, this is the best game ever. This is Mac Jones versus Desmond Ritter. Dude, if this is not the ultimate shit bowl game in history,
watch this be a shootout.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a 40 to 38 game shootout, and everyone's like, "What the hell just happened to these two teams?"
Well, wasn't it the Jets that played Jacksonville last week? Was that?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah, and that was a shootout. So let's get it again.
Let's get it again. Let's make this the Super Bowl. This is what everybody wants.
For real.
This is the battle. I think this is the battle of the number one pick in the draft or some shit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Damn near.
Dude, could you imagine if the Browns played the winner of this team? I'm just kidding.
God.
Dude. They need to have a bowl game where it's just the two worst teams just play.
Yeah, dude. Do a playoff bracket, and then whoever wins that is the one that gets the first pick. That's how they should do it.
Yeah, and whoever wins it gets the first. Yeah. make
getting the first pick not just tanking. It's also hey, then you get to win all the way through.
Yeah.
And play the worst 5 or 6 teams and just do a little mini bracket. That would be fun.
Have you ever seen The League?
Goodell, are you listening?
You ever seen The League, the TV show?
Yeah.
Just call it the Sacco Bowl or what?
Yeah.
The trophy is just a giant nutsack. Congratulations, you're the worst team in the NFL. You got the first pick.
Poo emoji.
Yeah, it's just a poo. You won the first pick. It's just a toilet bowl.
You won the poo bowl.
You guys are major shit stain on the league.
Yeah.
All right, San Francisco and the Miami Dolphins.
Actually, dude, you should really call that the toilet bowl. That'd be perfect. Like it
Yeah, the
would literally
toilet
make
bowl. There
sense.
we go.
But anyways, Miami versus San Fran. After Miami's abysmal game last week, I don't see how San Fran doesn't win this game.
Yeah.
Miami will play better because they're at home, and they're probably going to get back to running the ball more because Tua was seeing fucking ghosts apparently last week. But San Fran is still decent enough to where they should be able to win this game pretty decently. So, San Fran.
Yeah, I will with San Fran just because I don't know what's going on in Miami, but it's bad. It's
weird.
bad.
It's weird.
Tua's going to run for negative yards. And I say roll because his ass is in a wheelchair right now. Dude can't stay healthy to save his life. Now I feel for him, though. Like, he didn't deserve his concussions. But, yeah, give me San Fran. It's not going to go well for Miami.
No.
All right. Tampa Bay, our Sunday night game is Tampa Bay and Dallas.
Tampa. I mean, Baker's on a tear too.
Yep.
Honestly, Tampa is going to be that team that gets into the playoffs, and they're going to be a dark horse in the NFC. I think. Like, I really, as long as playoff Baker doesn't show up like he did, with the Browns, if he just can continue to play the way he's playing, they can be a dark horse in the NFC because the NFC is wide open.
Dude,
it really is.
If Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl, I'm deleting Twitter just so I don't have to see all the Browns fans.
Oh my god! All the Nick Carnes fucking poetry dude. I literally had to mute him today. I'm getting so fed up with that. Oh my gosh,
dude,
I'm done with him.
Dude, I would delete Twitter just because I was like, I cannot see Browns Twitter and just watch everyone just freak the fuck out if Baker wins a Super Bowl.
Everybody would lose their shiesty.
Cleveland would burn to the ground. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, we had Baker Mayfield win the Super." Oh my god, dude!
It would be the most atrocious thing for us to deal with. So.
I would move out of the city. I don't want to be here if it happens.
Yeah, let's please not let that happen.
No. And then our Monday night is the Saints versus Green Bay, and it's probably going to be again 3 feet of snow, about negative 15 degrees in Green Bay.
Green Bay. I mean, there's no Derek Carr.
There's nobody down there.
You don't have Tay. You don't really have Taysom Hill either. He's out. So
nope.
I mean, and plus Green Bay's another dark horse team as well. Like they're
really good.
The NFC is in a cool spot. Like now that San Fran isn't that great, the Rams are back to being good enough to be in the playoffs. NFC's wide open,
and the Eagles are beatable.
It can be the Eagles. It can be Green Bay. It can be fucking the Bucks. There's a few teams that can really make a name for themselves in this one because the AFC is sort of going to pan out in one of two ways. It's going to be Buffalo or it's going to be Kansas City. That's how that's going to go. But the NFC is going to be one that's going to be wild. I'm really excited to see what the NFC playoffs look like. Once it comes down to that, but. There you go, guys. That's the picks. Obviously, they're getting more and more brutal for us because the Browns really don't have a say in anything. We're not playing for much besides a good pick. So, rooting for the 3-14 season. Let's get that top 5 pick and let's go get whoever the fuck we want in this draft because we deserve it. And we haven't had a first round pick in fucking 3 or 4 seasons. So, it's time to let loose and really go get some picks. So, Browns. Don't disappoint me. Do not beat the Bengals this week.
They go on a 3-game win streak to end the season. And it just
ruined out of the top 10. And you're like, fuck.
Oh, now you want to be good.
Yeah. Now you want to do this. Fuck you.
You blow out the Ravens by 30 or whatever. Like, oh, now you want to win.
Fucking ridiculous. But all right, guys, we will see you at 8 p.m. on Saturday for the Ohio State versus Tennessee game. Until then, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, go listen to us on Spotify, Just BSN Podcast, follow us on Twitter. You know what to do. This isn't new news, okay? Do what you do. We'll see you guys next time.